My dear friends, everyday life gives us two choices: to merely exist or to truly live. Most people wake up with a busy mind, but very few wake up with a purposeful heart. And today, I want to remind every woman listening to me that you are not born just to survive each day. You are born to win each day. Winning doesn't always mean success in the outer world, promotions, possessions, or praise. Winning means mastering yourself, your emotions, your energy, and your essence. So, let's talk about 20 habits that every woman must practice, my dear friends. Every morning when the sun rises, it brings with it a new chance, a silent reminder that life has trusted you with one more day. But how many of us truly pause to recognize that? Most people open their eyes and instantly rush into the chaos of life. Checking phones, scrolling through messages, worrying about what has to be done. Yet in that race, we forget the first and most beautiful moment of the day, the chance to thank life itself. Gratitude is not just a word, it is an attitude that transforms how we see everything around us. When you wake up with gratitude, something powerful happens within you. Your mind calms down, your heart opens up, and your day begins not with pressure but with peace. Imagine waking up and before reaching for your phone, you simply place your hand on your heart and whisper, "Thank you. Thank you for another sunrise, for another breath, for another chance to love, to learn, to try again." This small habit sets the rhythm of your entire day. Because the way you start your morning decides how you carry yourself till night. Think about it. The moment we begin our day with complaints, everything feels heavy. I didn't sleep well. I'm late again. There's so much to do. The mind starts collecting reasons to feel tired before the day even begins. But when you start your morning with gratitude, your perspective shifts. The same routine that once felt boring starts to feel like a blessing. You no longer say, "I have to go to work." You say, "I get to go to work." You no longer complain, "I have to cook for my family." You whisper, "I get to care for my loved ones." Gratitude doesn't change your circumstances instantly, but it changes the eyes through which you see them. Let me share a simple example. There was a woman who used to wake up every morning in frustration. Her alarm would ring, and she would groan, thinking of all her problems, her job, her bills, her busy schedule. Her mornings were filled with stress, and by afternoon, she was already drained. One day she heard a talk about gratitude and decided to try something different. The next morning, instead of jumping straight into her routine, she sat for 2 minutes in silence and said, "Thank you for this bed that gave me rest. Thank you for this air that fills my lungs. Thank you for this new day to start again." It seemed silly at first, but slowly she noticed something. Her mood began to shift. The same job felt lighter, the same tasks felt easier, and her energy lasted longer. What changed? Not her life, but her lens. Gratitude is like a pair of glasses. It helps you see clearly what has always been there but was unnoticed. The more you practice it, the more your focus moves from what's missing to what's meaningful. And that is where true happiness begins. You see, happiness doesn't come from getting everything you want. It comes from wanting what you already have. Gratitude teaches us that nothing in life is too small to appreciate. Even the quiet cup of tea in the morning, the gentle breeze the sound of birds, or the smile of a loved one. Life will never be perfect, and there will always be something that could have been better. But a grateful heart finds peace, even in imperfection. When you say, "Thank you," you are not ignoring your struggles. You are choosing to focus on the strength that helps you face them. Gratitude is not pretending everything is fine. It's reminding yourself that even when things aren't fine, you are still blessed. And the beauty of gratitude is that it multiplies. When you thank life for what you have, life gives you more reasons to be thankful. It's like watering a plant. The more you nourish it, the more it grows. Gratitude nurtures positivity, and positivity attracts more joy. You begin to notice small miracles. The kindness of a stranger, the support of a friend, the comfort of home. Some people think gratitude is a grand emotion meant for great successes. But real gratitude is hidden in the ordinary. It's in the breath you take without effort, in the food on your plate, in the roof above your head, and in the people who stand by you. The happiest people aren't the ones who have the most, but the ones who appreciate the most. There will be mornings when life feels heavy, when you wake up and the weight of yesterday still rests on your shoulders. In those moments, gratitude becomes your strength. When you say, "Thank you," even through pain, you are not surrendering, you are rising. You are telling life, "You cannot defeat my spirit, because I still see light even in darkness." So tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, don't rush. Just take one deep breath and smile. Feel your heart beating. That's life's way of saying, "You matter." Whisper softly, "Thank you." And if your mind still feels restless, list 3 things you are grateful for, even if it's something as simple as, "I can breathe. I have a new chance. I'm still here." Slowly, that habit will rewire your mind. It will make you calmer, stronger, and more centered. Because gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a discipline, a daily practice that polishes your soul. And when a woman starts her day with gratitude, she becomes unstoppable. She radiates calm energy. She attracts kindness. She spreads warmth. Her presence itself becomes a blessing. So, my dear friends, before you begin your day tomorrow, remember, don't start with stress, start with thankfulness. Life has chosen you today, and when you choose to be grateful in return, that's when you truly begin to win the day. To win every day, not in competition with others, but in connection with herself. My dear friends, one of the biggest reasons why so many people today feel unhappy, anxious, or lost is because they are constantly seeking approval from others. We live in a world that measures worth through likes, comments, and followers. People dress, speak, and even live not for themselves, but to impress an audience that is always changing its opinion. But here's the truth. No matter how hard you try, you will never be enough for everyone. Someone will always find a reason to criticize, judge, or misunderstand you. That's why, instead of chasing approval, it's far more powerful to build a relationship with something unshakable, your own self-respect. Self-respect is not arrogance, and it's not ego. It's quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to shout to prove itself. It's when you can look into the mirror and say, "I may not be perfect, but I am proud of who I am becoming." The world outside might not see your struggles, your sacrifices, or your strength, but you do. And when you learn to respect yourself first, the world slowly begins to follow. Think of how many times you've said yes when your heart wanted to say no. How many times have you done things to please others, even when it left you drained, hurt, or invisible? Every time you betray your own values to gain approval, a small piece of your peace disappears. You begin to live by other people's expectations instead of your own truth. You start shaping yourself to fit into places you don't belong just to be accepted. But my friends, what's the use of being loved by everyone if you lose yourself in the process? Let me share a small story. There was a young woman who worked tirelessly to make everyone around her happy. She would take extra shifts for her boss, stay up late to help friends, and smile even when she was exhausted. Deep inside, she hoped that one day people would notice her efforts, appreciate her, or return her kindness. But the more she gave, the less she was valued. One day, she broke down and asked herself, "Why do I always end up feeling empty when all I do is give?" Then she realized something profound. She was trying to earn respect instead of owning it. From that day on, she stopped chasing people's approval and started setting boundaries. She said no without guilt, and slowly she found peace again. Interestingly, when she began respecting herself, others started respecting her too. Life always mirrors the way you treat yourself. If you undervalue your worth, others will too. If you let people walk all over you, they won't stop until you draw a line. But the moment you stand firm, the moment you decide, "I am not going to let others define my value," something shifts. You begin to attract people who appreciate your authenticity instead of your compliance. Self-respect also means being honest with yourself. It means admitting when something doesn't feel right, when you're forcing yourself to stay in a job, relationship, or environment that no longer aligns with your peace. Many times, women especially are taught to tolerate, to adjust, to compromise endlessly. But tolerance without respect is not strength. It's slow self-destruction. Respect yourself enough to walk away from anything that steals your inner calm. Respect yourself enough to not settle for less than what your heart deserves. You see, approval is like a mirage. It always moves further away. Today someone loves you, tomorrow they might forget you. Today they praise you, tomorrow they might criticize you for the same reason. But self-respect is like a mountain, firm, stable, and grounded. It doesn't depend on the weather outside. It stands tall in every season. There's a simple daily test you can try. Every time you have to make a decision, ask yourself, will this make me proud of who I am, or just make someone else like me more? If the answer brings you inner peace, choose it. Even if it means losing a few people along the way, the ones who truly belong in your life will never ask you to sacrifice your self-respect to stay with them. Sometimes, people confuse humility with weakness. They think being humble means letting others take advantage of you. But humility is not about shrinking. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't need to prove it. A woman with self-respect walks quietly, but her presence speaks loudly. She doesn't chase, she attracts. She doesn't beg, she builds. She doesn't need validation because her validation comes from within. Look around and you'll see that the happiest people are not those who are constantly liked, but those who live in alignment with their truth. They may have fewer friends, but those friendships are genuine. They may have fewer followers, but their life has meaning. Because when you stop trying to please everyone, you finally have time to please your soul. So, my dear friend, the next time someone disrespects you, don't fight to prove your worth. Just remember who you are, someone who is valuable, even when unrecognized. Walk away gracefully, not out of pride, but out of peace. The world may not always clap for you, but your conscience will stand up and applaud every time you honor your dignity. Never forget, approval is temporary, but self-respect is timeless. It's the crown that no one can take away unless you hand it to them. So wear it with grace. Stand tall, speak truthfully, love deeply, but never at the cost of your peace. The day you start prioritizing self-respect over approval is the day you truly begin to win, not over others, but over the constant noise of doubt within yourself. And when you live that way, you don't just walk through life, you glow through it. My dear friends, every morning holds the power to shape the rest of your day. The first few moments after you open your eyes decide whether your day begins with peace or pressure. But most of us don't realize how sacred those first minutes truly are. We rush to check our phones, to scroll through messages, to see what the world is doing before we even check how we are doing. We let chaos enter before calm has a chance to settle in. Yet, there's a beautiful truth. When you control your morning, you control your mind, and when you control your mind, you begin to control your life. The morning is like fresh clay, soft, pure, and open to any shape you want to give it. If you begin it with intention, it takes the form of peace and productivity. If you begin it with distraction, it quickly becomes messy and confused. The choice, every single day, is yours. A woman who wants to win the day must first win her morning, because the way you wake up is not just a routine. It is a ritual that sets the tone for everything that follows. Imagine this: two women wake up at the same time. The first woman grabs her phone immediately. She checks her emails, messages, news, and notifications. Within 5 minutes, her mind is filled with thoughts, comparison, worry, deadlines, and problems that don't even belong to the present moment. Her energy starts leaking before the day even begins. She's already reacting, already racing. Now look at the second woman. She wakes up, takes a deep breath, sits silently, and whispers, "Thank you for this new day." She stretches, drinks some water, spends 10 quiet minutes reflecting or praying. She hasn't even touched her phone yet. Her heart is calm, her thoughts are clear, and her energy feels aligned. Tell me, who will face the day with more balance? It's not about having more hours in your day. It's about having more presence in your hours. And that presence begins with the way you start your morning. When you wake up with calmness instead of chaos, your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. You start to lead your day instead of being led by it. That's the secret. I remember once meeting a woman who told me that she was always tired, no matter how much she slept. When I asked her about her mornings, she said, "I don't have time to breathe. I wake up, get ready, check messages, rush to work, and feel like I'm already behind." I smiled and told her, "You're not tired from work. You're tired from waking up without peace." She looked puzzled. I explained, Your mornings are your foundation. If the foundation is shaky, the whole day collapses. She decided to make one small change. For the next week, she promised to spend the first 30 minutes of her day without any screens. Instead, she would meditate, stretch, or write down her thoughts. Within a few days, she noticed a shift. She felt lighter, more focused, and surprisingly, her evenings felt calmer too. She didn't change her job or her responsibilities. She just changed how she began her day. That's the power of mindful mornings. They make you emotionally resilient. Because when your morning is peaceful, you handle challenges differently. Someone may speak rudely, but you don't react. A plan may fail, but you stay centered. You learn to respond with clarity instead of reacting with chaos. That inner calm becomes your invisible strength. We often underestimate the magic of a slow morning. You don't have to meditate for an hour or follow a strict routine. Sometimes it's just about being present, enjoying the quiet, listening to your breath, or even watching the sunlight touch your window. It's about connecting with yourself before connecting with the world. Because if you begin your day by grounding yourself, the world can't easily shake you later. Think about nature. The sun doesn't rush to rise. The flowers don't open all at once. Everything unfolds gradually, gracefully, in silence. That's how your morning should be. Gentle, unhurried, intentional. When you wake up in that rhythm, your mind follows the same pace throughout the day. There's another beauty in taking charge of your mornings. You begin to attract more peace throughout the day. A calm start teaches your mind what to expect. It sets an internal rhythm of mindfulness that carries into your work, your relationships, and your reactions. When your mornings are controlled, life starts to feel more organized, even if your circumstances stay the same. I once heard someone say, "Your morning routine is a love letter to your future self." And I couldn't agree more. Every act, whether it's journaling, praying, walking in silence, or sipping tea with gratitude, is a message to your heart saying, "I care about you. I'm giving you time before I give my energy to the world." And when you treat yourself with that care, you begin the day from a place of fullness, not emptiness. So many of us say, "I don't have time," but the truth is, you don't need an hour to feel grounded. Even 10 mindful minutes can transform your mindset. The real key is consistency, showing up for yourself every morning before showing up for others. Tomorrow morning, when you open your eyes, resist the urge to rush. Don't let the world's noise become your first thought. Sit up slowly, feel your breath, whisper something positive to yourself. Maybe today, I will choose peace. Feel that thoughts settle in your heart before you step into the day, because every peaceful morning is an investment, and the interest it pays is inner balance, clarity, and joy. My dear friends, when you control your morning, you control your mind, and when you control your mind, you stop living in reaction and start living with intention. You don't just go through your day, you grow through it. So guard your mornings, protect them like something sacred, because that small window of time holds the power to decide whether your day will feel like a burden or a blessing. The world will always be loud, but your peace is found in the quiet moments you create at the start. Remember, the morning doesn't just wake you up, it defines who you wake up as. My dear friends, there's a quiet conversation that happens every day, a conversation most people never pay attention to. It's the one you have with yourself, the way you speak to your own heart, the tone you use in your mind, the words you whisper to your soul. These things shape your confidence, your peace, and even your destiny. So many people are gentle with others, but harsh with themselves. They forgive others easily, but carry guilt for years for their own mistakes. They lift others with kindness, but tear themselves down with self-criticism. Yet the truth is, the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship in your life. When you learn to speak kindly to yourself, you heal from the inside out. We live in a world that constantly reminds us of what we're not. You open social media and suddenly you feel less beautiful, less successful, less important. You see pictures of perfection and forget that behind those screens, everyone is also struggling. And when you start believing that you're not enough, your inner voice begins to echo those lies. It says things like, I'm not smart enough, I'm too late, I can't do this. Slowly, that voice becomes your reality. You start walking through life with invisible weights of self-doubt and shame. But imagine if, instead of tearing yourself down, you built yourself up. Imagine if, when you made a mistake, you said to yourself, it's okay, I'm learning, instead of, I'm a failure. Imagine if, when you looked in the mirror, you didn't list your flaws, but whispered, I am trying, and that's enough for today. Imagine the peace that would bloom within you if your inner voice became your biggest supporter instead of your harshest critic. There's a story about a young woman who always felt insecure about her life. She compared her journey to everyone else's. Her friends seemed happier, her coworkers more successful, her siblings more confident. Every night, she would replay her day in her mind, counting her mistakes, judging her words, and doubting her worth. One day, her mentor asked her to write down everything she said to herself in a single day. When she read the list out loud, she was shocked. It was filled with harshness. You're not doing enough. You'll never get there. You always mess things up. Her mentor looked at her and said, would you ever speak this way to someone you love? She shook her head. He smiled softly and said, then why do you speak this way to yourself? That simple realization changed her life. From that day on, she made a conscious effort to change her words. Slowly, her tone softened, her confidence grew, and her smile returned, not because life got easier, but because she finally became her own friend. You see, the way we speak to ourselves determines how much light or darkness we carry inside. Negative self-talk is like poison, small drops that eventually cloud your entire mind. But kind self-talk is like medicine, slow, steady, and healing. Every time you say something gentle to yourself, you are reprogramming years of conditioning that told you you're not enough. You're planting new seeds of patience, of faith, of love, and those seeds grow into strength. Think about this. When a child makes a mistake, we don't yell, you're useless. We say, it's okay, try again. Because we know that kindness builds confidence, while cruelty destroys it. Yet when we make mistakes, we rarely offer ourselves the same grace. We replay our errors again and again, feeding guilt until it grows heavy. But life isn't asking for perfection, it's asking for progress. Speaking kindly to yourself doesn't mean ignoring your flaws. It means believing you are bigger than them. Many people believe that self-love is selfish, but in truth, it's sacred. Because when your cup is full, you naturally pour love into others. A woman who speaks kindly to herself radiates a different kind of energy, calm, warm, unshakable. She doesn't depend on others to remind her of her worth, she carries it within her. And when she faces storms, her inner voice becomes her shelter, whispering, "You've faced worse, and you're still standing." We all have moments when we fall short. We fail, we get rejected, we make poor choices. But those moments don't define us unless we let them. What defines us is how we speak to ourselves afterward. Do we punish ourselves endlessly, or do we choose compassion? Do we carry shame like a burden, or do we use it as a lesson to grow stronger? Self-kindness is not about ignoring accountability. It's about handling your humanity with care. Sometimes, all it takes to transform a day is one kind word to yourself. When you feel anxious, tell yourself, "I'm safe right now." When you feel behind, whisper, "I'm on my own timeline." When you feel unworthy, remind yourself, "I am a work in progress." And that's beautiful. These small affirmations create powerful shifts in your energy. They turn fear into courage and pressure into patience. Remember, the world will always have opinions about you. Some kind, some cruel, but the voice that echoes the loudest in your life will always be your own. If that voice becomes loving, the noise outside loses its power. So today, decide to become your own cheerleader, not your own enemy. You deserve to hear kind words, not just from others, but from the person who spends the most time with you. Are yourself. My dear friends, if you want to live a peaceful, powerful life, begin by changing how you speak within. Catch yourself when your thoughts turn cruel. Replace "I can't" with "I will try." Replace "I'm broken" with "I'm healing." Replace "I'm not enough" with "I am growing." Speak with kindness until kindness becomes your natural language. Because the way you speak to yourself shapes the way you experience life. Speak words that lift, not limit. Speak words that build, not break. When you speak kindly to yourself, the world around you begins to reflect that kindness back. Your relationships become softer, your days lighter, and your path clearer. You stop waiting for others to make you feel valued because you finally realize the love you've been searching for has always been within you. My dear friends, one of the greatest thieves of happiness in our world today is comparison. It sneaks quietly into our hearts and whispers, "Look at them, they're doing better than you." It tells us that someone else's beauty makes ours less. It makes us believe that another person's success means our failure. And before we know it, we stop celebrating our own journey and start running a race that was never meant for us. But life is not a competition, it is a creation. Each of us is an artist painting our own story. And when we start comparing our painting to someone else's, we lose the joy of creating our own masterpiece. Comparison is like a shadow that follows you wherever you go. You may achieve something great, but the moment you see someone else doing slightly better, your happiness fades. It's like climbing a mountain only to look up and realize someone else is higher. But what if you stopped climbing for others and started climbing for yourself? What if your goal wasn't to reach someone else's height, but to reach your own potential? That shift changes everything. Think of a flower garden. A rose doesn't compete with the sunflower, and the sunflower doesn't feel jealous of the tulip. Each blooms in its own time, in its own way, adding beauty to the world by simply being what it was meant to be. Yet humans, the most intelligent of all creations, often forget this truth. We try to bloom in someone else's season. We rush, we compare, we envy, and in that process, we lose the fragrance of our own growth. I once met a woman who constantly compared her life to others. When her friend bought a new car, she felt inadequate. When her colleague got promoted, she felt behind. When she scrolled through social media and saw perfect vacations, glowing skin, and happy families, she thought, why isn't my life like that? Slowly, she began to lose interest in her own blessings, her small joys, her morning coffee, her laughter with her child, her peaceful evenings, felt insignificant. One day, she broke down and said, I feel like I'm always behind in life. I asked her softly, behind whom? She paused. She couldn't answer. That silence was powerful because she realized there was no finish line, no scoreboard. She was only running against an illusion she had created in her mind. That's what comparison does. It traps you in a race that never ends. You can't enjoy your victories because you're too busy measuring them. You can't love your journey because you're watching someone else's path. And the saddest part is, you forget to live. You forget that someone out there is looking at you with the same admiration you feel for others. The truth is, every person's journey is unique. Some people bloom early, others take time. Some find success in their 20s, others shine in their 50s. Life is not a straight road. It's a winding path filled with turns, pauses, and unexpected blessings. Comparing yourself to someone else is like comparing the sunrise to the moonlight. Both are beautiful, but they shine at different times. We must understand that social media and the world outside show only fragments of people's lives. Nobody posts their pain, their insecurities, or their sleepless nights. You only see the highlight reel, never the behind the scenes struggles. When you compare your reality with someone else's performance, you're being unfair to yourself. You begin to judge your worth through a lens that isn't even real. When you let go of comparison, something magical happens. You start noticing your own growth. You begin to see how far you've come instead of how far you have to go. You appreciate your progress, even if it's small, even if it's slow. And gratitude starts to fill the space where envy once lived. There's a quiet power in walking your own path. It's the power of authenticity. When you stop comparing, you start connecting with yourself, with your purpose, with your peace. You begin to live not to impress, but to express. You no longer ask, am I as good as them? But instead, am I better than who I was yesterday? That's the real competition, not with others, but with your own yesterday. One of the most beautiful feelings in life is peace. And peace cannot coexist with comparison. The moment you measure your worth through others, you invite restlessness into your heart. But the moment you accept that your journey is yours alone, you begin to breathe again. You begin to live without pressure. You begin to celebrate both your highs and your lows, knowing that both are part of your story. Think of it like this: if you plant two seeds, one may sprout faster than the other, but both will grow in their own time, under their own light. Forcing one to grow like the other will only harm it. Similarly, each person has their own timing, their own lessons, and their own rhythm. Life's beauty lies in diversity, not uniformity. So, my dear friend, when you feel tempted to compare, pause. Instead of looking at someone else's blessings, look at your own. Count them, cherish them, nurture them. Celebrate the little victories that others might not even see. Waking up with hope, helping a loved one, being kind when it's hard, trying again after failure. Those are the real successes. The more you focus on your journey, the more peaceful it becomes. The less you compare, the more joy you discover in simple things. You start noticing the beauty of your own path, the lessons that shaped you, the strength you built, the grace that carried you through. Remember, comparison is a battle you can never win because it was never meant to be fought. You don't have to run faster than anyone. You just have to keep walking steadily on your path. The goal isn't to be better than others. It's to be the best version of yourself. So let go of comparison. Let go of the noise that says you're behind. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to be. Walk with grace. Grow at your own pace. And trust that your time will come just as surely as the sun rises after every dark night. Because when you stop comparing your life to others and start living your truth, you don't just find success, you find peace.